Two. Welcome in to the Punt and Pass podcast. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside my co-host, Jake from. Be sure to follow us on social media at Punt and Pass on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. He's at From Jake. Puntandpass.com, the number one destination for all things college football. We are back. Season 8 of Punt and Pass. It's really unbelievable, Jake. I'm so glad you're here. It is August the 26th, a Monday night. Week 0 is in the books. We're looking towards week 1 coming up. It's Labor Day weekend as well. My man, so good to see you. How you been?
Man, I am pumped. Glad to be back. Football season's here, man. Kind of
Yes.
camp's finishing up. Got cut day coming up for a lot of NFL teams. Obviously,
Yep.
college football's back, week 0, in Dublin, Ireland. And dude, it's awesome. I'm excited for the fall, and as always, glad to be back.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to be back as well. I'm fired up. I want to ask you about how training camp has been. You've been with the Detroit Lions for the last couple of weeks, some interesting developments on the home front for the Fromm family, but such is life when you are a professional football player. And of course, you're keeping things locked in right here on Punt and Pass. I can't tell you how many people have reached out to me, and this is just the God's honest truth. Is the podcast coming back? What's going on? What have you been up to? I'll give you a state of the podcast in just 1 second. We'll get a state of the Fromm family household as well. If you're interested, I'll let you know what's been going on under my roof also. But first things first, this episode of Punt and Pass is presented to you by none other than Solomon Brothers Jewelers. That's right. Every Monday episode of Punt and Pass, all season long, presented to you by the number one jeweler in the city of Atlanta. That, of course, is Solomon Brothers. How about this? 3 locations now. Yeah, that's right. 3 locations. Buckhead 17th floor Tower Place. You know that one. Alpharetta just past the Avalon. You know that one. And now one for our friends south of the city in Sharpsburg. I talked to Jaron the other day. He's a great Georgia Bulldog. We all know that. And he said, hey, let everybody know 20% off your jewelry purchase when you mention Punt and Pass. 20% off your jewelry purchase inside the store at Solomon Brothers Jewelers, either in Buckhead, Alpharetta, or Sharpsburg, when you mention Punt and Pass. We've been telling you about them for the last couple of years. They have the best selection. I can't tell you how many people I've sent to Solomon Brothers. I go to Solomon Brothers myself. Jake, you've been to Solomon Brothers. It's the best. Amazing selection, top-notch customer service. It's the only jewelry store you need in Atlanta for all of your jewelry, diamond, and timepiece needs. Check them out online, SolomonBrothers.com, on social media at Solomon Brothers. Again, this episode of Punt and Pass presented to you by Solomon Brothers Jewelers. That's it, man. That felt good to do. I'm back. I am so back. We are here. Look, people, we were about to get this thing started up a couple of weeks ago. I had a week planned with Jake here in Atlanta. You know, Jake is here back in Georgia. You got a baby now. You got a family. You're doing your thing. I was like, all right, let's do this. I got us a barbecue lunch set up. We're going to go do a little chalk talk, get the juices flowing for podcast season. I'm going to bring you out. We're going to play some golf with a couple of other of our buddies who are former Georgia guys as well. And then we're going to do our first podcast. Are you ready? Dude, we were so fired up. We were like, yeah. And then you texted me and said, hey, I just got signed by the Detroit Lions.
Man, life happens so fast.
It's
I
great. I
mean,
was fired up for
good,
you.
dude, man. Like we had a great week planned out. Everything was going great. Was doing some renovations at the house, getting my whole like studio, basement, office set up
Yes.
downstairs. Trying to put together a really good product here for you guys who listen and watch us here at the Punt and Pass. And man, life happened fast. Got a nice phone call from the agent on Sunday afternoon, and flew out later that night. So here we are in Detroit, Michigan, and hopefully going to be here throughout the rest of the fall. But man, life happens fast, and God answers some prayers, and now I'm here playing some football.
Hey, you always stayed ready. I would always check in with you, what you up to. You still throwing, you
Yep,
working out. You're like, yeah, dude, I'm always ready, waiting for a phone call. You had a couple of workouts, and then of
yep,
course, I don't even know. Did you work out for the Lions and then they signed you? Did they call you and just sign you right away? Maybe give some color to the people on how that
yeah,
process
yeah,
goes.
for sure. So like, I think 2 weeks before that, I had gone up to Green Bay and tried out for the Packers. Didn't really kind of feel great about it as far as like their interest, but 2 weeks later, Lions call and they're like, "Hey, we want to sign Jake. We're gonna go have him go through a workout." And it's basically,
Yeah.
"Hey, just don't throw up on the field and don't incomplete every pass, and you're good." So they ended up signing me on. Was there that week, and man, you're getting ready for a preseason game. Like, hey, like there's a chance you can get thrown into this one. Didn't get thrown into that game, but got thrown
Yeah.
into this past week against the Steelers, and just kind of let it take care of itself.
So awesome. So this past Saturday, I'm downstairs. I'm watching the girls. Of course, I got the Georgia Tech Florida State game on. I've got the Disney Kids on one TV for the girls while they're playing around on a Saturday afternoon. And then I had NFL Network on my far right TV. It's the Steelers, it's the Lions. It's kind of late in the third quarter. I take a look over. I see number 18 coming into the game. I'm like, oh my God, that's Jake Fromm. That's my podcast partner. He's going into the game. I'll be damned if you didn't drive these boys right down the field. You did that twice. I believe 2 scoring drives. So best of luck. We'll see what happens, man. But that's just it. You're so right. You make all these plans and then other things tend to happen. So all of Punt and Pass Nation, the listeners, hey, we're thinking of you. We're hoping for the best, but we do know one thing: win, lose, or draw, you're still right here twice a week on the Punt and Pass podcast, giving the people what they want. Some updates from us on our side of the desk, Punt and Pass. We got some good news. We'll be distributed by the Odyssey Podcast Network this upcoming fall. Yeah, that's right. Odyssey, the gargantuan radio station slash telecommunications company. They got a great podcast network. We are teaming up with Odyssey. So our YouTube product is going to be so much better for you guys. Everything else stays the same. Should be a fantastic fall for Punt and Pass right here, distributed by the Odyssey Network. I will just say this: keep listening, share it, tell your friends to listen. We're going to switch over the RSS feed. Many of you don't know what that is, and nor should you know what that is. Nothing changes for you, but just keep listening. We love it. Share it with your family, share it with your friends. Punt and Pass, season 8. It is incredible what has been going on. So that is the announcements. That's the housekeeping. Let's dive right into things. It's the week 1 kickoff show right here on Punt and Pass. Let's go 3 and out. First down, week 0 recap. Look, the headliner, Jake, was the ACC showdown. Georgia Tech right here, the Atlanta team heading across the pond to take on Florida State, who is 10th ranked in the preseason AP and coaches poll heading into 2024. Of course, the talking point around Florida State was how their season ended a year ago. Jordan Travis gets hurt. They squeak by Louisville, win the ACC championship. They were undefeated regular season. Then, of course, they don't make it to the college football playoff. Half their team sits out the Orange Bowl. Georgia goes in there, donkey stomps them 63-3. They lost a ton of talent. They lost a ton of talent in the offseason. They get DJ Uiagalelei. I feel like general consensus was that Florida State was just going to walk in there and beat Georgia Tech. And of course, Georgia Tech had other plans. They win the game on a game-winning field goal by Aiden Burr, 44-yarder as time expired. Jackets are 1-0, and they're off to a great start in 2024. Brent Key's second season.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely crazy way to start off the college football season. I mean, Florida State picked up exactly right where they left off, which is just getting absolutely beat up. They got beat up in the trenches. Georgia Tech just kind of walked right over them, running the football, just owned the line of scrimmage. And if you want to be a top tier program, if you want to compete and especially get into the college football playoff, like you have to have the dudes up front and they have to play well. And man, they didn't this game at all. Got just beat up by Georgia Tech team, and I think it's probably somewhere in the middle where Florida State was ranked too high, but man, what is this Georgia Tech team going to be? Like
They
how
got to be
good
pretty excited.
can
Yeah.
like how good can they be? So I think it's exciting to watch. And then Haynes King, he was efficient. Didn't
Yeah.
do anything crazy, but did his job. And I will say, I thought the Florida State kicker, may end up being like a fifth round pick. After
That was
hitting
pretty
two
impressive.
after hitting two 50 yarders, and then the Georgia Tech kicker as well hitting the game winner. So just I think a good all around football game. It was clean, it was
Yeah.
crisp, and man, fun to watch, and it's good to sit and watch to start things off. So it wasn't sloppy, wasn't a lot of
Right.
penalties, and it's just a very good product to have for the first game.
You bring up a great point. Usually those week 0 games are kind of clunkers.
Yep.
They're disjointed. It's not very good football. Florida State went out there. I don't know what they had on Georgia Tech in that first 15-play script, but they just marched right down the field. I mean, they mowed down the field. You would have thought they might have stuck with that game plan, but I thought Tech's response was equally as important. Jake, as a quarterback, talk about that. Like when you get demoralized on your first drive of the season on
Yep.
defense, offense knows, hey, we have to go out there and respond. What's that mentality like first series of the season? And then I guess piggybacking off that question, do you know Buster Faulkner? Have you worked with Buster Faulkner in the past? Because that is a name. If Tech has a lot of success this season, that's a name. Georgia Tech's offensive coordinator who's going to have a lot of possibilities thrown his way.
Yeah, I mean, agree. Pick right up where you left off. I mean, Buster's a big time football coach, and a guy. If they continue to have the success they had in game one, that he'll get looked at for head coaching opportunities. I personally, I didn't play under Buster. I know him a little bit from just going kind of in and out of the building
Yeah.
throughout workouts and such. But man, great mind. Can see he's moving pieces around, and he calls it really well. So. And it kind of going back to the original question, like complimentary football is something that's said a lot in the building, in the rooms, in the meeting rooms, and something that head coaches, usually, say a lot. But it means a lot too. In those situations, defense didn't quite have it, but hey, how can the offense go and respond
Yes.
and pick up the defense in critical points in the game? A 2 minute drive after a first drive by the opposing team. Hey, I need you to help the defense out and put something together and give these guys a breather so they can go and make adjustments. So a lot of things are happening there in that moment. And for me as a quarterback, man, hey, I want to go out and I got to put together at least 2 first downs. Give these guys some time. Obviously, we don't want to go down and score points. That's on every drive. But hey, for me, hey, I need 2 first downs to go help those guys out, and then
Right.
we can kind of figure it out from there.
Small victories. Just don't
Yep.
go 3 and out. And then what
No, can't do
happens?
that.
You convert a couple of third downs and you answer with a touchdown of your own. And Haynes King's mobility, that clearly was a huge X factor for Georgia Tech. And it's something that a lot of defenses are going to have to prepare for going up against the Yellow Jackets all season long. Guess what? They've kind of cemented themselves as a storyline of college football after upsetting 10th ranked Florida State over in Dublin, Ireland. I want to ask you about this. Please let our listeners know because I found this to be highly interesting. It's the first season in college football where you have in helmet communications, the quarterback and the play caller. Either Haynes King has a hearing problem or Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Ireland was the loudest stadium on the face of the earth because this dude was doing the earmuffs onto his helmet from the start of the game all the way until the end. Like there was either an issue with the comms or he needed to turn the volume up or it was just simply that loud. I was like, God bless. If it's that tough to hear, maybe you run over to the sideline and get the call. But I guess he was able to, you know, fight through the adversity and get the play calls in. But it's something to watch, especially as we head towards week one. Quarterbacks now have in helmet communications with their play callers.
100%. It'll definitely be something to kind of watch, pay attention. Hey, who's doing it well, who's not doing it well, and it's going to be kind of a case by case basis. I know talking from our equipment guy here with the Lions, they for us in the NFL, they tried to go to a new system and they were having kind of trouble with it. It didn't
Sure.
work out very well in the first kind of week of the preseason, and they kind of went back to the original system. So I don't know if college football is kind of
Hmm.
caught in the middle of that, where they're trying to start this new system in the first year, and it didn't go well. So that's something to kind of pay attention to, and I'll be kind of looking at it from my angle too of what kind of goes on up here in the NFL. But it's definitely something to get adjusted to. I know rookie quarterbacks coming in, it's different.
I had
They've
no
never
idea.
had it
Yeah, of
before.
course.
And then it's always interesting when you're a rookie and that headset goes out and you don't have a play, and what happens now? Are you the guy who's, hey, calling
Not
timeout, we got to go
ideal.
figure it out, or hey, are you going to kind of take the reins a little bit and go start calling some plays? Because hey, that clock's still ticking and the game's still going. Doesn't matter if you're hearing plays or not. So
Yeah.
it will be fun, interesting to kind of pay attention to over the course of the season.
In the NFL, the comms shut off with 15 seconds left on the play clock, I believe it
Yep.
is. I'm not sure if
Yep.
it's the same in college as well. Surely it's getting cut off at some point, but how used are you now to speaking out loud to your teammates or to the huddle while you're still having comms into your ear? Because that's just tough. It's a learned trait, especially for these
Yep.
guys who have never done it before in an atmosphere where there's, 70,000 people in a stadium.
Yeah. So from my experience, there's usually two schools of thought on that. Are you the guy who hears it and kind of knows it and is able to kind of just go and say it, or are you the guy who's saying it as the coach is saying it to the huddle at the same time? So kind of two different kind of schools of thought, I would say. I'm the former, where hey, I hear it. I
Yeah.
know it, and even if it cuts out because I got a play and a formation and a motion, hey, I know what that play is, and I can get to it. So a lot of times, what happens, guys who say it as they're hearing it, they say the play, and they have to kind of like get their bearings a little bit. Like, hey, what
Right.
what what play did I just call? And they go ask me, hey,
Because you're
what
just
was the play
regurgitating
again?
the
You're
information.
just
Right. Yeah.
regurgitating, yeah, you just kind of turn your brain off, turn yours off. So, yeah, it's different. It'll take some getting used to, and I'm excited that they brought this to college football because I'm tired
Much
of all
needed.
the sheets and the
Yes.
pictures, and there's just too much signaling going on. Signals are great. I think it's cool to have your own language as an offense. I actually kind of love that part. When you're worried about sign stealing and this guy and that guy, and you got 8 guys signaling, it just becomes a little bit much.
No question. I think it's a great addition to college football as well. And shout out to Haynes King for overcoming the adversity. I'll be watching out for that this weekend. I'm
Yeah.
going to the Georgia Clemson game. It should be a great atmosphere. I know it's at noon, but inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium, like that will be tough for those guys to get used to it because there'll be almost 80,000 people inside MBS. And, if it's a big third down, it will definitely be loud in there. All right. I kind of want to move on past Tech, Florida State. I do want to touch on the cool atmosphere, though, in Dublin. College game day was there. It seemed like a great kickoff for them this season. Nick Saban looks to be an amazing addition onto that set. Pat McAfee getting after it, Jake, inside of a pub on Friday afternoon. Keep in mind, Pat McAfee, as a part of game day, usually syndicates or does his show live from the college game day set that Friday, wherever they're set up. Of course, they were in Ireland this past weekend. So he brought WWE legend Sheamus with him. They like took over this 7-story pub in Dublin, and he was crushing Guinness live on ESPN, visibly hammered, telling people he was hammered. There was a couple of times where ESPN had to like cut away from him. I know at one point Nick Saban was sitting right next to him. He just completely chugs a Guinness right in front of Nick Saban's face. Saban was kind of like, okay. But I do just want to say this, okay? If people saw on social media, I believe it was Thursday or Friday before the game, Florida State went out to Dublin earlier. Some Florida State players posted a video. It went all over social media, TikTok, X, Instagram, the like, of some Seminoles football players doing the Irish jig dance. They had the traditional Irish jig music in the background. Of course, a lot of feedback. These guys aren't taking it seriously. They're having too much fun. They're not focused on football. And then they lost. So in response, Georgia Tech's players then do the exact same Irish jig dance. They play the traditional Irish music behind the video. They're in the streets of Dublin. They're celebrating. They just won. They're 1-0, all while doing the Irish jig dance. Jake, let me just say this. It's 2024. My culture is not your costume. Okay. I hate seeing these players just denigrate my Irish heritage, having fun with whatever they think is okay. I'm here to say that's unacceptable. Can't do that. Look at this skin. Look at this pale skin, this reddish type hair. You don't think that I've gotten made fun of my entire life for how pale I am, for the hue of my hair? You're just going to go out there and do an Irish jig dance and post it all over social media. My culture is not your costume. It's 2024. I'm sticking up for us. Okay. I just had to get it off my chest.
Hey, they have a term for that. It's called cultural appropriation,
Yes. Yes.
and
That's
that's
exactly what
that's
it
what it
is.
was. You know,
I will not stand for it. I will not stand for it. It's 2024. Okay. Moving on. Let's go to second down. Some coaches are in the news. We'll start with Dabo Swinney, Clemson's head coach. Of course, Dabo not exactly adapting to the current times of college football, still has not taken in a transfer in the transfer portal, which is unbelievable. NIL, he likes to make a lot of comments about it. If you remember, Clemson got out to a bit of a rocky start a year ago, and a certain Tyler from Spartanburg called into the Dabo Swinney Weekly's coaches show, and Dabo absolutely laid into him. How dare you talk to me like that, Tyler? You remember when he kept saying Tyler, Tyler? He was pissed, rightfully so. News breaking today that Dabo Swinney announces he will no longer take live callers on his weekly show. Immediate thoughts, immediate reaction, because my thought was this: one, typical Dabo, but two, Jake, not a lot of coaches take live calls anymore. It's too much of a hostile environment out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a risk you take, especially, I mean, week in and week out, you just never know what's going to happen, what's going to come up. And in this world of technology and social media, I mean, half people are they're looking for clicks anyway. They just want to get you riled up, want to mess with you. So, I mean, it's a risk you take kind of to begin with. I applaud him for kind of taking that chance to begin with. But if I'm a head coach for a program of Clemson's caliber, I'm staying away from that, and we're gonna kind of stick to the normal script, so to
Right.
speak. But that's hey, different strokes for different folks. You know what I mean? But hey, that's Dabo, and hey, we got some great content from it though. You
We
know,
did, and I have
and
the
that and that
I have the quote right here from Tyler a year ago that pissed him off. It's classic. I'll read it to you in just a
I love it.
second. But you're totally right. It seems like now for Dabo Swinney, and every college coach has the weekly call-in show on the local radio station, a lot of ad buyers. It gets everybody fired up, whether they're recapping the previous week or they're getting ready for the upcoming game that weekend. Kirby Smart at Georgia. His is on Thursday nights. I think they've done a really good job kind of transitioning that show into a live show to where sponsors pay to be there. And then the people who are there in the audience get to ask the questions. That's pretty cool. Clemson, it seems like they will be putting up either an email inbox or a social media channel in which fans can then post their questions, and then they'll be able to pick and choose what questions they want Coach Swinney to answer. Others have specific call screeners. Look, I get it. Again,
Yeah.
it's a hostile environment out there, and you just don't want to happen what happened a year ago. Here is what Tyler from Spartanburg called in to Dabo Swinney on the line with the head coach of Clemson football, a two-time national champion. This is what he said, quote, "Hey, coach, you make $11.5 million a year. That's second in college football. If I'm not mistaken, I'm curious why that salary has led to a 4-4 record." And then he just keeps going on.
Mm.
After that national title, something changed. There seems to be a lot of arrogance that came in. There's a lot of friends and family that came in. I mean, 3 of the 10 on-field football coaches are external, experienced hires. So he's going after Dabo's family, his friends, the people that he's hiring. He says everyone else is an internal hire that had no experience before or was a former player or a friend. So I'm curious. He doubles down. Tyler from Spartanburg asks the question, why are we paying you $11.5 million to go 4-4? And it's not just this year. It's been the refusal to accept. And then Dabo cut him off and said, get him off the line. He goes on this epic rant. And he just says, Tyler from Spartanburg, don't talk to me that way. Classic moment in the season a year ago. And now it's led to, Jake, no more live callers on the Dabo Swinney weekly show. It's Tyler from Spartanburg. Dude's got some major cojones, because that is quite the attack of a college football coach making almost $12 million a year.
100%. It definitely got personal. And I do want to say I'm not an advocate for softball questions,
No,
and no, I don't want that, because I do enjoy hard questions, and I think they need
there's a
to
time and a
answer.
place.
They do
Yes.
need to answer hard questions, but I think a little bit of filter is always good. Helps everybody, hurts nobody, and
Helps everybody. Hurts nobody. Thank you.
so if you get
Thank
it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But I think it will, it will help the lives of Dabo and all kind of involved there. But I do think they do need to answer tough questions, especially
Yes.
why Clemson at that point was 4-4. Now, did it have to be as purple as it was? No, but Clemson 4-4 at the time, like, hey, we got high expectations. We want you to meet those expectations. And sometimes, let's be honest, man, the expectations are so high
Yeah. Yeah.
that they're just
Unrealistically
completely
high. Correct.
unreachable and completely
Yes.
unattainable. Yep. and that happens, and you see it. Georgia's expectations for this year are absurd. They're high, and the only way they can obtain them is to go 15-0 and run through everybody. But that is the life we live, and man, when you become good, those are the expectations that get thrown on you, and it's just part of the process.
That's a fact, Jack. It's also a great segue to our other coach who's in the news. We'll stay on second down here. Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, and the Colorado University Athletic Department ban a certain reporter from asking questions. This, of course, on the heels of Deion shutting down a CBS Denver sports reporter inside a press conference just a couple of weeks ago. This poor guy was like, Coach, I have nothing to do with CBS. Like, I work at the local affiliate. And Coach Prime was like, no, that's enough. Don't talk to me. I mean, completely outrageous. They've gone a step farther, Jake. They've announced that Denver Post columnist Sean Keeler has been banned from asking questions from football coach Deion Sanders or other members of the football program, and the school confirmed it. They say, quote, after a series of sustained personal attacks on the football program, and specifically Coach Prime, the CU athletic department, in conjunction with the football program, have decided not to take questions from Denver Post columnist Sean Keeler at football-related events. I mean, look, that to me, that's crazy. It is just crazy. The guy's doing a job. If he can't ask questions of Coach Prime, I mean, it's not like he's I want to know what the personal attacks were, because that quote just says personal attacks on the football program. That isn't exactly a personal attack, Jake.
Yeah, man, I wish there was just more information that we had to make a more educated opinion on exactly what is happening. I mean, it's kind of the questions that come up in my head, like, hey, was this deserved?
I got some for you. Can I
me.
read it, and then you tell me if it's deserved or not? According to the Denver Post, a Colorado Athletic Department media relations staffer told the newspaper it took issue with Keeler's references to Coach Sanders as, quote, deposition Deion, the, quote, Bruce Lee of BS, and a false prophet, and his use of the phrases as Planet Prime and the Deion Kool-Aid, as well as circus. So, look, the guy is a writer. He's a journalist. Like, what do you want him to do? Deion's just stuffing him in a locker, I guess.
I mean, this is kind of old school bullying, I guess. Could become new school, I guess. I just, to me, I appreciate journalism. I think it's good to ask good questions, but it doesn't have to like cross that line of getting personal. And I'm not saying what that guy did right or what Deion's doing right now is right. I'm not saying either one is right, but
yeah.
I do think, hey, let's not cross this line of getting personal. And from Deion's perspective, I mean, the media has always been his friend, right? I mean, they
nobody has benefited more from media than Deion Sanders. That's a fact,
right? I mean, he is prime, like, and so to kind of see this from, to kind of put a bow on my statement here, kind of see this from Deion's very interesting, and I don't necessarily I don't like it, to say the least. I don't like it, and I'm slightly surprised, but I'm not, because I feel like he's kind of feeling the pressure a little bit,
yeah,
of what it is
of course,
to coach at a program, to have high expectations. And I mean, he may be feeling a little hot on his seat too.
You're exactly right. I'm laughing. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm laughing as you're giving your statement, because I'm reading further through this article. And during the press conference, Deion Sanders asks this reporter, Keeler, why are you always on the attack? What happened to get you like this? Like, he's personally attacking him. And then Deion Sanders stops him and says, no, I'm being serious. I want to help because it's not normal. That to me is just funny, but who knows, man? It looks like it's going to be a contentious 2024 season for Deion Sanders, a.k.a. Coach Prime, and the local media surrounding the Colorado football team. And I believe their win total is like 4.5, so not the highest of expectations in Boulder. We'll see, though, because this weekend they take on North Dakota State. Watch out. They could lose that game. I'm just telling you that right now. Watch out. North Dakota State, a great FCS program. They could 100% lose that game. All right, let's go to third down. We'll start wrapping this week 1 kickoff episode of Punt and Pass up. Let's just take a look at the week 1 slate, because it's a doozy. It's Labor Day weekend, starting Thursday, taking you all the way through Monday night. You got to be fired up. And Saturday, there's a triple header. Remember, the SEC is now on ABC. Things start at noon in Atlanta. 14th ranked Clemson against number 1 ranked Georgia. That's your Aflac kickoff classic inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then it heads right into the 3:30 game, which is an interstate rivalry. Miami taking on Florida. 19th ranked Miami heads to the Swamp to take on the Florida Gators. Miami is a 2.5-point favorite. So Florida, a home dog. Florida has notably one of the toughest schedules in the country this year, Jake. And then things wrap up on Saturday night. This triple header, man, it's awesome. 7th ranked Notre Dame at 20th ranked Texas A&M. So Notre Dame in College Station taking on Texas A&M. Riley Leonard, now the quarterback at Notre Dame. Mike Elko, now the head coach at Texas A&M. That's 7:30 p.m. on ABC. A bunch of other games. Sunday night in Las Vegas, Southern Cal taking on LSU. And then Monday night, Florida State hosts Boston College. Can Florida State get a little redemption after dropping their season opener? Those are good games. That gets you fired up for some weekend action on
Absolutely.
Labor Day, huh?
Dude, that's a great all day slate there. Obviously, watching the Dogs play. Can they be as dominant as they've been in the past? Keep the machine going. How does the offense look after losing weapons? Uh,
They
you
lost
know,
a lot. No more Ladd. No more
lost a
Brock. No more Marcus
lot.
Rosemy-Jack Saint.
The depth very low in the running back room. Moment, especially for week one. It'll be interesting. Actually, today in the facility, they had the spring game going, and so I'm kind of watching, getting back familiar, with what's going on. So, man, I'm excited to watch him play. Excited to see what Carson's going to do. How is he
I
going to
know.
respond? From last year of earning the spot, and then now, man, he is the guy, and that's a completely different mindset going in as a quarterback. Hey, I'm the guy. Everybody's looking to me. The pressure's on. Can I still perform at a high level and meet all these expectations? Not only that everybody else has watching, but can I meet the expectations of my coaches and teammates as well?
Did you ever play in a neutral site kickoff game? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think you did either.
Mm-mm.
Should be an interesting atmosphere. I mean, Clemson, Georgia, historic rivalry, of course. And I will say this, my dad is the honorary captain. Kevin Butler will be out there flipping the coin for the Dogs. It's the
Nice.
40th anniversary of his 60-yard game-winning field goal against Clemson back in 1984. So a cool little hat
How
tip
about
to
that?
dad there. That will be really fun. Of course, we're going to break this game down on Thursday's episode, but a couple of things to
Yep.
note. Roderick Robinson, probably going to be out. He had a minor surgery on his toe, Jake. He's week to week. Looks like he won't be suiting up against Clemson this weekend. And then the other running back, Trevor Etienne, his status is unknown. Kirby said in his press conference earlier today, hey, I don't talk about suspensions. I never have. Remember, he got into a little bit of trouble this offseason. Some of those charges were dropped. So, per the UGA code of conduct and their student athlete policy, I believe if the charges were dropped, they may not have to go by those code of conduct policies. So we'll wait to see. I think, like gut feeling, I think Trevor Etienne plays this weekend against Clemson. That would be a huge help to Carson Beck to kind of take the pressure off him. And I don't know if you heard me because I know our connection's a little choppy, but look, no Ladd McConkey, no Brock Bowers, no Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint. That's not to say that there's not skilled players behind them, but Georgia's offense, some question marks. Who's going to step up? Who's going to be the guy, of course, led by Carson Beck, a Heisman favorite? Um, I don't want to give too much away because we're going to dive into that game
Yep.
big time
Yeah.
on Thursday's episode. I think Florida is a little live dog, +2.5. Yes, a lot of expectations for Mario Cristobal and those Miami Hurricanes. Transfer quarterback Cam Ward. He's a playmaker, but it's different inside the Swamp. It just is. And
Yep.
it's been evidenced time and again. And I think Notre Dame A&M could be the game of the weekend. I really do think that could be an awesome football game, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday night. So we're going to be fired up. I'm going to be locked in. I'm going to the game with Jackie on Saturday. So if you see me, holler at me. I think they serve beer inside the game. They better. It's a holiday weekend. They better serve cold beer inside that stadium. I believe they serve it at Stanford this year. I think
Really?
this is the first year we're gonna have some cold beer opportunities inside Stanford Stadium.
How about that? Don't have to sneak it in anymore, huh?
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah, no more airplane bottles. So, man, it's so good to be back on Punt and Pass. I'm so thankful for our great sponsors. Shout out to Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Go check out Solomon Brothers Jewelers. I told you at the beginning of the show, Jaron will give you 20% off your jewelry purchase in store. They have 3 awesome locations now. Buckhead, 17th floor, Tower Place. Alpharetta, just past the Avalon, and now down in Sharpsburg, south of the city. 3 amazing locations. Or you can go to SolomonBrothers.com to check out what you want. Again, go in store for that 20% off your jewelry purchase. Just mentioned Punt and Pass. Check them out on social media at Solomon Brothers. They have an amazing selection. Their customer service is unmatched. Take it from me. Take it from Jake. Take it from my wife, probably the most important person you want to talk to in regards to Solomon
For sure.
Brothers. It's the only jewelry store that you need in Atlanta for all your jewelry, your diamond, and your timepiece needs. At Solomon Brothers on social media, SolomonBrothers.com. 20% off your jewelry purchase in store when you mention Punt and Pass. Jake, anything on the way out, my man?
And I hope I counted right, but I'm counting 10 SEC teams ranked in the AP top 25 to start the season off. That's a lot. How many, Drew, do you think will end the season in the top 25?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think 4 teams from the SEC get into the playoff. I saw some chatter about potentially 5, but it's tough. I
Mm.
mean, your 4 conference champions, they're automatically in. If Notre Dame gets in, they're automatically in. So that's 5 away. Your group of 5, that's 6 now. You got 6 left. You have to expect Big Ten gets a couple in. You have to expect the ACC probably gets a couple in. So I'd say 8 or 9 probably end inside the top 25 towards the end of the season. But it's going to be
Yep.
a really fun season, man. Oklahoma and Texas, welcome to the SEC. Of course, Georgia leading the way as the number 1 ranked team in the country, and some teams chomping at the bit. Hello, Ole Miss. Hello, Tennessee. They want their chance at a college football playoff, and there's no better time than now. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're so fired up to be back. At Punt and Pass on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. He's at From Jake. Puntandpass.com, the number 1 destination for all things college football. We will talk to you on Thursday. See ya.
Yep.